Hi everyone, I'm Marisela and I'm the programming coordinator at Oxy Arts. On behalf of everyone on our team, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so excited you're here. Our exhibition, We Live Memories of Resistance, opened this week, and this panel is the first event in a series of programs we have lined up for the season. Our exhibition, We Live Memories of Resistance, opened this week. And we've also got a virtual tour that goes along with the current exhibition. We'll share those links out in the chat. Now I'd like to introduce Paulina Lara. Paulina is one of the curators of the We Live Memories of Resistance exhibition, and she will be moderating tonight's panel.
Thank you, Marisela. Hello, my name is Paulina Lara, and I'm the co-curator of We Live Memories of Resistance, an exhibition that engages the contemporary political stakes of historical remembrance and collective memory. This exhibition is in partnership with In Plain Sight, a nationwide coalition of 80 artists and organizations united to create an artwork of poetic messages in the sky dedicated to the abolition of immigrant detentions and the United States culture of incarceration. This partnership with Oxy Arts is an online virtual exhibition and campus-wide course integration to bring these issues into light. First, I would like to thank the IPS team, lead artist Castles and Rafa Esparza, and my co-curator Kyle Stevens. Also would like to thank Oxy Arts for hosting this exhibition and making this program possible. I'm very excited to introduce our first public program and panel, Collective Memory and Intergenerational Music, with Cumbiaton members DJ Sizzle, DJ Funky, Julio Salgado, and Paolo Riveros, all artists that participated with IPS on the 4th of July Sky activation. This panel will be followed by a DJ set with DJ Sizzle and DJ Funky, and the link is below in the chat box to join. Also, if anyone has questions, we have a Q&A box below. So first off, thank y'all for being here with us today and being part of IPS, Sky Typing Action. If you can briefly share with us your Sky Type phrase and what inspired you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much Oxy Arts, Paulina, and everybody involved for having us. My name is DJ Sizzle Fantastic, and I was lucky enough to have the honor to participate in the In Plain Sight nationwide action, which, you know, kind of flew planes all throughout, typing really, excuse me. I am so sorry, y'all. Sometimes audios have moments, and this is a live show. But as I was saying, I was able to participate in this amazing nationwide action. And one of my quote was actually Chinga la Migra, which means F, Border Patrol, DHS, ICE, right? Folks that continue to oppress our communities collectively.
Hey everyone, this is DJ Funky Caramelo, and I was also part of In Plain Sight. My statement or my quote was immigration is traumatic, and the reason why I chose that was because at every aspect of immigration, whether it's at the very starting point of migrating, leaving people behind, or being apprehended, or even being released from ICE detention facilities, all of that has tremendous impact on the human psyche. So I just wanted to highlight that at every aspect of immigration, there's trauma.
Hi everybody, I'm Julio Salgado, and the image or the message that I picked was hashtag free them all, and translated in Spanish, liberación para todos. And this was in collaboration with the Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice. During a during this pandemic, the fact that people are still in detentions, and the fact that these detentions, again, are in plain sight, right? Sometimes not that in plain sight, but we wanted to make sure that people were able to go to the hashtag and see how they can, you know, press the, you know, the local politicians, and highlight the work that grassroots organizations around the country are doing, and the work that they've been doing to make sure that, you know, that we, you know, get them out, stop the whole system of like having to pay to get out of a detention center during a pandemic. So that was my message.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paolo Riveros, and the phrase that I chose for In Plain Sight was to abolish ICE. And I think it's pretty straightforward, the message in that. And the reason why I chose that, it's because I believe that this is a system that just benefits from our labor, from our bodies, and criminalizes us. So I think it's unnecessary, and it should be abolished, not reformed, not changed in any manner. It should just disappear for good.
Thank you for sharing that with us. We were so honored to have y'all as a collective, as part of IPS. And I guess, could you start by telling us what y'all do as a collective?
So we are Cumbiaton Los Angeles, and we are a collective of artists. Julio is a graphic designer, Paolo is our photographer, Funky Caramelo is our DJ and marketing lead, Norms Fajardo is our production manager and co-founder, and I myself, I am the co-founder and DJ for this nationwide party we call Cumbiaton.
Guess were there any slides that you wanted to share with us?
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. I thought we were going to go into different questions, but yes. So we're going to start our presentation. As I briefly mentioned, right, we are Cumbiaton Los Angeles, and we have prepared an amazing little visual presentation for you all to get to know us a little bit better as Cumbiaton. So we will start with that now. Give me just 1 second. I am so sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So we are Cumbiaton Los Angeles, which is an intergenerational cultural movement which utilizes music and art as a vessel to heal and uplift oppressed hood communities. As stated before, it was co-founded by myself and my homegirl, Normsa Oaxaqueña, in the beautiful barrio of Boyle Heights, California, and have then branched off to cities like San Francisco, Seattle, and New York. Cumbiaton's vision in all 4 cities is to center women, queer, and trans people of color, both on the dance floor and in the DJ booth, and further in all aspects of production. We do this because la cumbia es cultura. So I just wanted to share a bit of who we are prior to COVID, because as you all know, COVID has changed the way we see our nightlife, and we see ourselves reflected in the nightlife, unfortunately. But this is a little glimpse of who we were when we first started. And we first started off with about 50 or so people. We said, hey, you know what? There's a lot of stress going on right now. It was back in 2017. Trump was just campaigning, right? So this was right before the elections. And we felt that we needed a space for folks to come and refuel and rejoice, as we do come from a social justice and organizing background, we wanted to make sure that the folks that, you know, were out in the streets demanding and really fighting for our collective freedom were also replenishing and refueling themselves. So we invited 50 of our closest friends. We said, hey, you know, we're having a party. And this was actually taken at the first party ever in Boyle Heights in a rinky-dink bar, which, you know, is always going to be home to us. But little by little, we started growing our team. And the more we started growing our team, the bigger the parties also got, word of mouth. And we utilized music as a way for people to come to this space. And again, just refuel and recharge, because times were hard. You know, it was during election year all over again, which is kind of wild to me because it's coming full circle. So we went from having about 50 folks into our events to selling out venues of 1,000 plus capacity, not only here in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, and Seattle. So we're gonna take a quick glimpse of who Cumbiaton is prior to COVID.
Te necesito junto a mí, no abandones mi amor, que me he entregado a ti, no puedo sobrevivir, necesito tu calor. Ahora más que nunca, te necesito junto a mí, no abandones mi amor, que me he entregado a ti, no puedo sobrevivir, necesito tu calor. I'm gonna rock to the beat, to the hurt.
I'm like, oh, memories of pre-COVID, but that is us pre-COVID, and hopefully that will be us once again, once, you know, we are able to come out of this quarantine and, you know, out of everything that's going on. But just as I was mentioning, right, it took a lot for the party, for our movement to be where it's at today. And that starts obviously with the badass team of people, and I'm gonna briefly introduce them, but you see most of them here. So I'm going to surface, just touch on what they do. It is our production manager, Normsa Oaxaqueña, who is also the co-founder, our photographer and visual artist, Paolo, our DJ marketing and Presley, DJ Funky Caramelo, our graphic illustrator, Julio Salgado, myself, DJ Sizzle Fantastic. And this is me anytime I get to introduce them, because I am so incredibly proud of everything that they do. Even though our work has changed through, you know, COVID, and we've had to go virtual now, we've always managed to stay true to our mission and vision, which is to continue to work alongside our community members and make sure that we use music as a way to uplift and really center community movements. We do, whether it's fundraisers, whether it's you know, advocating for the passages of different bills that are going to affect our immigrant communities, because we are immigrants at the end of the day. You know, and it's something that is really important to our core. We do this work not only because it's important to us, but it's because it's a part of our reality. You know, we are all undocumented, we are all queer, and there's nobody else to tell our story better than ourselves. And I'm gonna close with this last remark of Mr. Rafael Agustin, who is the director of LALIF, an international film festival, where he quoted, "The undocumented youth movement led to one of the most important Latinx nightlife in the US, which is Cumbiaton, LA." And I'm gonna let my colleagues now take it from here and let them tell you about the amazing and important work that they do for and with Cumbiaton Los Angeles.
Hey everyone, this is Funky Caramelo. Can folks hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Awesome. So I am one of the DJs at Cumbiaton, and I also handle social media, marketing, and press for the party. A little bit of background of like who I am as a person, and one of the reasons why I also became part of In Plain Sight was because I myself have experienced and have been detained. I've experienced immigration detention, firsthand, so I know the many atrocities that happen behind wire walls, while at the same time being able to then after being released, had to fight my deportation case, and even though being released was amazing, it also kind of just came with a load of trauma, which is why I chose my quote to be immigration is traumatic. Now, I've always been like in love with music. I was brought up by an only mom, by a single mom as an only child, and music was kind of like my blanket. I've always wanted to do something with music. I just didn't have the means or didn't know kind of how to go about that. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago where I finally kind of dove into kind of my DJing journey. I was going through a lot emotionally, right? Dealing with the trauma from being detained. And I kind of just needed an outlet. And at that time, I was also working at nonprofit doing immigrants work. And I was just extremely burned out. So I decided to just enroll in DJing school. So there's a photo of me at the Beat Junkies Institute of Sound. I went to DJing school for about 6 months, and that's kind of how my DJing kind of career came about. And then slowly but surely, Sizzle and I had known each other for a while, again, because we had been in immigrant rights and labor rights spaces. And I had told her, I had pinned her, I told her, hey, you know what, I'm interested in DJing. Like, can you teach me? And then she saw that I was like kind of just doing things on my own, that I wasn't in DJing school. And then she invited me to come and do a guest set for Cumbiaton. And then shortly after, she, her and Norms asked if I can be part of the team. So and eventually I was granted, I guess, DJ in residency at Cumbiaton. So that's how I came to be part of this amazing family. And then DJing is kind of still like the main thing that I do, while at the same time, because of the party had grown so much and so rapidly, we wanted to make sure that we also created a presence, not only like in physical community, but also via social media. So I do handle Cumbiaton's like social media account, right? I'm the person that story stuff, the repost stuff, the replies to things, making sure that the aesthetic is all there, while at the same time also being able to like create engaging campaigns. So for example, you have two of the campaigns that we launched during quarantine, right? We were not able to party with our Cumbiatoneros, but we also wanted to make sure that we stayed in contact, or we engaged them in some way. Along with stories, I also take care of posting, right? So whether that is collaborating with our Cumbiatoneros, or collaborating with Paolo, collaborating with Julio, and then just kind of, again, highlighting all of our community and making sure that although we're not physically present, that we're still there for one another. And then lastly, I also handle the press for the party. As Cumbiaton grew, we also wanted to make sure that other folks knew about the party, especially because Cumbiaton has already expanded to different states. So we wanted to make sure that we got kind of the recognition that we deserve. So with that came, kind of brainstorming some outlets, both national and local, and then just kind of crafting a pitch, reaching out and seeing if they were interested in covering it. And of course they were, because we're so amazing. So that's kind of my overall role at Cumbiaton, kind of how I stumbled upon DJing, how I ended up being part of Cumbiaton, and highlighting some of my my overall tasks.
Hello, everybody. Can y'all hear me? Thumbs up. Let me start presenting. So hi, my name is Julio Salgado. I am the resident illustrator for Cumbiaton, the only kind of residency that I have, immigrant joke, you can't say if you're not undocumented. And essentially my job, it's like that, to create all the flyers that you see, all of the, the logo. I came up with the logo. And so a little bit about me, I think what is so beautiful about Cumbiaton and this whole conversation about intergenerational music and partying and just sharing the culture is that for us at Cumbiaton, making sure that our moms, tias, tios, they feel welcome to the space, right? And for us, that's personal. I came to the US in 1995, 11 years old, and this is one of the first pictures that we took. We used to live in Huntington Park, and like in Pacific, those photos that you took, that was one of those places. And every time I get to share about my art and get to share about the work that I do, I go back to this photo and really talk about why a lot of the narratives when a lot of us were organizing as undocumented students was like, it wasn't my fault that I came to the US. It was my parents' fault. They were the ones who made me end up being undocumented. But in reality, it was a narrative where we were throwing our parents under the bus, because it takes courage and responsibility for somebody to move to another country and say, I'm going to create a whole new life. It's necessity and it's risk, and it's not beautiful all the time, and it's not easy all the time. And so we found in art as artists, to like that shows in our work. And so this is an image that I made based off of that. This is some pictures of me of young Julio. I think one of the things that also saved me from, as undocumented queer, is like this nightlife spaces, right? Like some pictures from, some bad outfits that, that was a look back in the day in the early 2000s, late 90s. Places around, Hollywood that don't exist anymore. Places like Arena were like a place that I found other people that looked like me, spoke my language. And right now I miss that. I miss that so much. But it really was for me the foundation of like, I'm gonna do my best, to survive this country, but I also need a space to celebrate. I was also like, I wanted to party at the time, but really looking back at how those spaces really shaped me, and the kind of spaces that I also wanted to be with my friends. As I grew up and I started getting more involved, I felt that as an artist, we needed to document what was happening around us. Somebody came up with this word undocuqueer. I said it, being thrown around on Facebook, and I was like, that's the perfect word that describes two things that a lot of us are dealing with. Being undocumented and being queer are two things that have really informed the kind of artwork that I make. And so, right here, this images I started, putting out there, and it was me trying to get other folks involved and asking them, what it's like for you to be undocumented and queer? Because there's one thing being undocumented and queer in California and having a lot of spaces, and then talking to somebody who's like in the South or other spaces where just being undocumented or saying that they're undocumented was dangerous, or being queer. And so I started making a lot of these images as I start really a lot of tragic events that have happened in our spaces. One of them being the shooting at Pulse nightclub. Really, aside from being made me sad and made me angry, it really pissed me off that it saddened me that it took a death of people who look like us for the news to be documenting, and seeing our faces at clubs and being happy, for us to help, for people to see, for ourselves to see reflected in the news. And so I started making these images based off the places that I would go in different parts of the country, showing my art and just being like, look, there's happy moments. We don't have to wait until something tragic happens to our community to uplift it, right? And so eventually that's how I came into Cumbiaton. I was living in the Bay around 2017, and I remember seeing Sizzle. Sizzle, I think, has been the person who has like definitely brought us all together. And I remember listening to her mixes, and I was like, I was thinking of moving back to Southern California, and I was like, if I go back, I need to like hit them up and see how I could meterme de chismoso. And I remember telling Sis, I was like, hey, your graphics could use some help. Let me do it. And so I was like, no shade, so she's gonna be mad at me. But I was like, this is what I can offer. I was already told that I couldn't DJ, so I really wanted to help. And really, they let me be myself and let me, mess around with this graphics, because again, a lot of the work as artists, a lot of the times could be very tragic and it could be very sad. And so what I love about being part of Cumbiaton is that I get to celebrate this part that I love, and I love partying. And so a lot of these images are in collaboration with our next presenter, Paolo. You want to take it away?
Hey y'all, can people hear me? Okay, cool. So, let me just move this. Sorry, that was my dog in the background. Let's see. So I had, sorry, I totally, my mind just went blank right now. Where do I make it full screen? Where are we?
Place it present. Where's the share?
Here we go. Okay. All right. So my name is Paolo Riveros, and I am Cumbiaton's visual storyteller. I take care of the photography and videography as well. And so a little bit about myself and how I started. I started my career as a photographer covering nightlife. And one of the places where I started doing this was at this party put together by Nacho Nava and Josh Peace that was called Mustache Mondays. And one thing that I loved about this place was that everybody was so unique and they could be themselves, and they were just very artistic and creative and very out there. And that completely drew me into wanting to document each of their nights. And as time went on and I started going to different places, I came across Cumbiaton, because most of my friends, they were in the immigrants' right movement. So we were sharing a lot of spaces together. And one of those spaces that we would go to unwind was Cumbiaton, and how Sizzle mentioned that it was at this small place in Boyle Heights, at this small bar. And I started going to this place just to unwind, to have fun. And what really drew me into Cumbiaton was the fact that they were centering women, not just, in front of, sorry, let me take care of my dog. Give me the,
We are a very dog-friendly space at Cumbiaton.
It's because he was crying. So I know if I don't pay attention to him, he's gonna cry more. But anyway, so Cumbiaton was a place where was very intentional. They were centering women, as DJs, and also making sure that people felt safe. So people were free to dress however they wanted, make political statements if they wanted, with their t-shirts. No one was being turned away because of the way they were dressed, because they had a hoodie, because they had a hat or anything. So I really appreciated that, because, as we all know, some of the other, nightlife, especially like in Hollywood or like West Hollywood, they're about that, So I was drawn into that because of that. And And a very unique thing that I saw that I never saw anywhere else was vendors, at a party. And that was, that was beautiful because we were bringing community together, and people were, again, like creatives were showing off their products, and they were able to grow their business within the community. So I love that. Another thing was that uh, many of my identities were coming together into this party. So being Latino, being trans, listening to cumbia, salsa, and reggaeton, like all those things, like they came together in this party, and I love that, and I wanted to document that, to have, a record of what every night looked like, and pretty much documenting each night as a story, making sure that I'm getting actions, movement, things that were happening. And it just happened very organically because there were a community. And so my proximity to the community allowed me to also be physically close to every person. They allowed me to take their photograph, and that I thought it was very beautiful and important to document. And so, we started at a small place, and throughout the 3 years we grew so much that last year, when we celebrated our 2-year anniversary, we celebrated at the Globe with more than 1,000 people, and that was a beautiful thing to witness. Bringing banda, bringing dancers, and just everybody having so much fun, not only with their friends, but also bringing their parents along with them. So that's another thing that I love about Cumbiaton, that we're not just restricting, this party, and only people from this age to this age are allowed to come. Anybody, any age can come, and we've had that throughout our different parties. And so, some of the collaborations that we had also have been with different parties. One of them being Arrebato Queer from New York, and that was also a beautiful collaboration that we were able to take space in a place where normally it's very heteronormative, and very strict in like the way that they allow people to come in dressed. So being able to be part of that was amazing. And so the last thing that I want to touch on is that as we, were coming to terms with COVID and being our kind of like new normal, we had to shift, from being a party in person to, being on social media. So this is a piece that I have, that I put together with our house, and where we showcase how we made that transition into the virtual space, and that's how we have grown, and we have adapted as things have happened. And so hopefully we can go back to in real life partying soon, crossing fingers and little toes and everything that we can so we can go back to partying in person. But that's what I do. That's what I do with Cumbiaton, just documenting every night that we have.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. It's truly inspiring to see the work that y'all do. I'm just really grateful that we were able to do this. I guess I just had a question before I open it up to, the public. I guess, throughout your presentation, the word intergenerational was brought up. And I guess, This question is for everyone, but I guess if Sizzle, you can start. Is how do you include your family, especially your mom, into your parties? And is she gonna make a special appearance tonight?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. Yes, we are definitely super adamant about always bringing intergenerational, or highlighting rather that component of our parties, because it is, for the majority of us, it is our realities that we got our love of cumbia, of salsa, of merengue, of banda, of all of these Latinx tropical beats through our parents, right? So in a lot of ways, Cumbiaton is also paying homage to our parents, right? Cumbiaton is also paying homage to the swap meets that a lot of us frequented, that a lot of us worked at, folks starting up their small businesses there, right? Their entrepreneurial skills are developed there, paying homages to the swap meets, to the pulgas, right? So when we say intergenerational, we are, again, we walk the walk and we talk the talk as well, because, we do incorporate and we invite folks to bring their mamas, bring their tias, bring their primas, their dads, their brothers, if they can get with it, if they're not with the patriarchy, all right, bring them too, you know what I mean? So it's a family environment. And, I've been able to do that with my mom, who is now, a star in her own right. Her name is Coco Loco. She has become Cumbiaton's unofficial, but very official go-go dancer during the quarantine. So she's living with me, and, through this quarantine, I had to literally, my stage became my living room, right? So I'm here in my stage, which is why you heard my little dog yap, which is why you heard my mom's phone go off. And I'm like, oh my God, so that in itself presents new and different challenges, right? Of being like, crap, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna make sure that, we're filming and doing this and doing that? But all of those things become so irrelevant once the lights come on, once the music comes on, once the vibes continue to, just kind of be shot out from where we're at into whatever living room, whatever kitchen, whatever bedroom we're at now. And to answer your question, Gogo Coco Loco might make an appearance on our DJ set. So stick around, go to Oxy Arts Instagram for our DJ set, where you may or may not see Coco Loco. Stay tuned.
All right, thank you. I guess I want to open up any questions that the audience has. Let me see, I think I have one. What kind of challenges did y'all encounter in creating the incredible safe spaces y'all successfully built for some very vulnerable communities that are trans, queer, and undocumented folks?
I can go. I think one of the most visible challenge is constantly engaging in like prior communication and doing a lot of informative discussions with the staff at the venues and the venue owners themselves, just because when it comes to nightlife, they have a perception of what nightlife should be and how people should look like, how people should dress, along with security and what does policing look like. So that's always been kind of like, a thing that we definitely have to do before we come to a new venue, just because, folks are not there yet when it comes to, just creating safe spaces for all bodies, for all identities, for all different status. So I think that for that, it's definitely a challenge, but it's something that we definitely, take on every time, just to ensure that the party, that the venue, that the party goers, that our cumbiatoneros feel safe.
Thank you. We have another question. This is to all the panelists. What advice would you give kids who may be experiencing that generational gap between themselves and their parents from other countries?
I can share something on that. I think something that I've learned, and you know, for a lot of us who are lucky, you know, as queer people, to have that you know, that connection with our family. I remember, you know, with my own father, like it starts at home, right? Like it's before we want to change, you know, want to change the world, you know, it starts at home. And so I remember it was super difficult, but I also kind of, I've never had a gay son. I don't know what it's like to have a gay son. And so like I was just like, you know, really trying to understand where he was coming from. Also me having access to, like, you know, going to school and understanding my own, you know, ingrained homophobia. You know, I can only imagine what my father was dealing with that. And so I would, if the opportunity is there to, and if your parents like have like a little like, okay, let's talk about this, it's like take that opportunity. And to me, I like to be confrontational in loving ways. Using humor to me is super important. And so like those have been ways that, what I remember my dad was like, never bring a man home because I don't want to know that. And then, you know, one day I just brought a boyfriend and I was like, Dad, this is my boyfriend. And he didn't do it, you know, he was just like, oh. So just, you know, knowing your space within your family and what are your limitations, but like, you know, also understanding that they're like the things that we're learning, they're also learning, right? And so being patient with our parents and bringing them into this spaces, I think it's important. And again, I speak from a place of like being super privileged that my parents were even a little bit open to having that conversation.
Okay, another question. Can y'all talk about the way you bring attention to Blackness of Latin America and Black Latinidad?
I can answer that. So one of the ways that we try to address this is through music, by just sharing the information and knowledge that we have about the origins of music. And also in practice, when we are at our parties, to also be mindful of how we interact with folks and being able to shut down anything that we see as unacceptable and just call it out at the moment. So, you know, I think there's a lot of learning and unlearning that we have to do, because it comes from, you know, our families as well, you know, and the way that they were brought up, and the things that, you know, they might say sometimes are very problematic. So it's a lot of work, you know, like Julio said, also starts in our homes with our family. So we try to be as mindful as we can, and just be active in the ways that we address them.
I have another question. Do you include other Latinx musical genres in your DJ sets at Cumbiaton? And for all, this is for all panelists, are there any particular cumbia artists that are important to you and why?
Yeah, I think for us, we try and incorporate, even though our name is Cumbiaton, anytime that either Funky, myself, or whatever other DJ comes, we don't only like narrow it down to cumbia and reggaeton. Although that is our emphasis, we like to have our artists just have that creative freedom, right, to play whatever they want and whatever they consider their Latinx sounds, right? For example, I was brought up in Boyle Heights, so I do claim Boyle Heights, woo woo. So a lot of my styles reflect, whether it's cumbia, reggaeton, they reflect oldies, they reflect funk, they reflect hip hop, they reflect banda, they reflect, you know, merengue, salsa, you know, they reflect all of this beautiful music that I grew up just, you know, listening, walking from block to block. Because if you've ever been to Boyle Heights, you know that, you know, our neighbors, and I am so happy that no one right now is like just blasting music, because it's happened before. I'm in the middle of something and all of a sudden I hear Jenny Rivera, or all of a sudden I'll hear Mary Wells, you know, coming out from a homie down the street, right? So a lot of that is really reflective of what we play at Cumbiaton, right? But we do have that creative freedom to let other folks play whatever they want, you know. Recently we had DJ Foreigner, right? Which he was playing a lot of Caribbean and tropical beats, right? We've had folks representative of all, not only Latin American countries and states, right? But wherever that, you know, Latinidad is found within them, right? So yes, to answer that question and just kind of to segue into the next one of the most influential cumbia artists for me has been a pioneer in the Afro-Latino cumbia genre, which is Andres Landeros, who happens to be like a Colombian accordionist and just overall, I would say maybe like the godfather of cumbia, you know? So that's one of my personal favorites.
And Funky, did you want to add to that?
We're good. She covered it.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. What advice do you have for the Latinx community members who are new to LA that want to get involved with inspiring, uplifting, loving communities like the one that you have the one that y'all have created?
Come to Cumbiaton as soon as this is over. Come to Cumbiaton. We want you to be part of our amazing community. Even though we're not able to like party it up right now, catch us live, link up with us. We'll love to meet you in person. And if you want to still build community outside of Cumbiaton, which you're more than welcome to do, I would recommend just tapping in. Like social media is also great to just kind of see the other, like what other folks are up to. If you're like social justice lens even aligns with theirs. So I would just say like, just, you know, tap into social media. Right now we're very limited and that's kind of the only thing that we have. But once COVID's like over, I would say just, you know, just go to different events, go to different, just tap into different events and then just kind of see if it does something for you. It has to move you. If it doesn't move you, it's not okay. That's not the space for you. That's okay. You're going to go ahead and just find your niche, your people.
Thank you. Okay, so this is our final question. How do you continue to be motivated to create space and importance for art in Latinx spaces when it isn't as valued by older generations?
You just have to do it. Like I think one of the questions that I would ask, I mean, like especially like younger artists, you know, that they ask me, they're like, oh, like how did you get started and how did you create, you know, like back, because you know, again, I came from a generation of high school where like it was undocumented and afraid wasn't a thing. There was no DACA, there was nothing like that. And so you literally had to like use your imagination to like, you know, make up stuff. And like as artists, as an artist, I did that a lot. And so for me, one of the things that I always tell, you know, the youth, the younger generation, it's like, do it. Like it literally, it's as simple as that. You know, one of the things that one of my mentors told me was like, what's stopping you? And I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm broke. I couldn't afford art school. I couldn't do this. Like there's 99-cent stores that have pens and, you know, paper. Like there's no excuse. And literally there's no excuse. And so for me, it's like, if you really want to do it, this is like a sport. You have to practice at whatever field you're trying to get into, whether it's DJing, you want to be a writer, you need to read. DJ, you got to practice. You want to be an actor, you know, act in front of the, you know, the computer, of the mirror. The limit, like I think limits are there for the systematics, the systems around the art world specifically are there for a reason. But we can't allow that to stop us, and we're gonna go around it and, you know, create our own shit. I'm sorry, can we? We create our own stuff, and so yeah.
Thank you all so much. Oh my God, I'm so honored. And this was so great. I guess, so we're gonna have a little break and y'all are gonna DJ on Oxy, and stay tuned on that. And thank you so much. See you soon on Oxy Art.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.